15 years. 15 years. Matt Booth and Room 101 Cigars have been making cigars. What better way to celebrate an anniversary, a 15th anniversary, than with making a, let's say, an anniversary cigar? That's right. This is the 15th anniversary of the Room 101 cigar, and it is a Nicaraguan Puro, a 6x52 Toro. And I want to fire it up and find out what it's like. I'm Bob the Cigar Guy. This is Traveler's Rest, South Carolina. First time I ever got to talk to Matt Booth was at PCA. And I actually ended up listening to him talking to somebody before I got to talk to him. And I was so impressed of his kindness, of his compassion. I mean, when you see him from on the other side of the velvet rope, right? He is a full room personality. He is. Unapologetically. He's just one of them guys, right? He does it, right? He's amazing. But the real side of him, when the camera's cut off and everything fades, he's still an awesome guy. I actually, when I talked to him, I shook his hand. I said, hey, I just want to say hey. And I'm going to tell you that I was coming up and I'm saying, I'm Bob Cigar Guy. I want to say hey. And I appreciate what you do for the industry. But I just watch you interact with that fella. And I'm more impressed with who you are instead of what you bring to the table for the cigar industry. Yeah, I know this is not a cigar review way to start a cigar review, right? You're supposed to talk about the industry. You're supposed to talk about the individuals. You're supposed to talk about the stories, the styles, the people, the cigars, the blends, the this and that. But you know what? Cigars are to add to our life. Not replace it. And when I get a moment to see reality, to see just awesomeness, I'm going to call it out. And I got to tell you, Mr. Booth, you're freaking awesome. You are. And this cigar, being Nicaraguan Puro, very nice. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Puros fall in two categories for me. One, the category of it's a one-note wonder. It just has one set of flavors because it all comes from the same environment, the same climate, usually the same season, maybe not, but the soil's the same, the harvesting processes, the farming process, and usually the same in different areas, right? And so that can cause the tobacco to all have the same qualities, great qualities, good and tasty, right? Some puros from other countries are fantastic. They are, but they're usually a one flavor focus, one blend focus. Now, puro, P-U-R-O, that means all the tobacco comes from one country, right? You can even have a puro that comes from one farm. But the hard part about that is, from my perspective, that when you're blending a cigar like that, you don't have the ability to say easily, all right, I want spice, I want pepper, I want leathers, I want cedars, I want creamy toastiness. So let's throw a little bit of Mexican San Andreas in there. Let's go crazy and get a little bit of that Braganca tobacco from the Amazon. Let's get a Connecticut shade from somewhere. Let's throw all that together. Let's put some meatiness to it. Let's get some leathers and some heaviness into it. So let's grab a little broadleaf. Let's throw it all in there. Now, that's a very kindergarten way of talking about it. I mean, there's tons of issues when blending a cigar. You have to worry about your burn. You have to worry about your combustibility. You have to worry about your room note. You have to worry about your flavor notes. You have to worry about all the other things if the tobacco plays well with each other being so close, because if you have very thin tobacco next to very thick tobacco, the thin tobacco will burn faster than the thick tobacco, and then that can cause a choke up and a draw issue and a burn issue and a blah 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 blah. And even though it looks good on paper, doesn't mean it's going to look good rolled up into a blend. And then there's the differences of the years and the harvests. Then there's the pilon process. But I would believe it's easier if you can go to a region of this world that has a flavor profile that you lean into. Mexican San Andreas, black pepper, a little spiciness, a little gritty, a little minerality. Dominican, you get a little smoother. Nicaraguan, you get a little bit earthy. Broadleaf, you're going to get full. You're going to get punch in the face. You're going to get those leathers and beefy, meaty notes. Now, there's variables. There's ways to play with those, but that's basically your core things. And so when you go to one country, you're like, okay, I have to work really hard on the way this tobacco is grown, on the way it was harvested and hung. I really, really need to dabble around with the different pilon processes. I really need to dabble with my blends and figure out which bales have a little bit more of this quality compared to that quality. There's a lot of work in that. So to take in and cause a good blend that is multifaceted from a Puro, I believe is harder than to do it in a regular on multiple countries. Quick, fast, and hurry. I used to own a high rod and custom shop. I used to restore cars, paint cars, and I used to do hot rods and customs. Flames and sheet metal welding and slapping this part on that car and that part on this car. And I will tell you, hot rods are much easier than a restoration. Why? Because a restoration, you have to make all those parts fit just like they have to fit to come out with a great expectation. With a hot rod, you say, okay, I want to put bigger wheels on this car, or I want to put a souped-up engine, or I want to put a boat flake paint job, right? I want to shave the handles. I want to put a hydraulic suspension where it drops and slams in the weeds. Do all sorts of stuff like that. I want to weld the whole hood and the fenders together and make it tilt like a Peterbilt. Those are fun, but there's a lot more freedom in doing a hot rod than it is doing a honest to God bone-off restoration. A Puro done right is that hot rod, or that bone-off 100 points restoration. Not saying nothing against it, not saying nothing for it. I'm just saying it is what it is. So you have to have a different skill set when you're dealing with that. Now, AJ Fernandez blended this. That feller, he knows what he's doing, right? This is not a single-dimensional cigar. This has a slight bit of that minerality turned earth. The main thing that it's all riding on is leathers and a deep oaky woodsiness, a full meaty, beefy grit and gravel. There is a little turned earth. There's no aggression in the finish. The finish does end a little bit on the tinny side. It smokes like a champ. Look at the dimes on that thing. Look at that mascara line, tight and tiny. It only makes 2,000 boxes, I think it is. 40,000 cigars. Anniversary thing. He didn't put a lot of money into the band. He put a lot of money into the blend. The construction looks fantastic. Seams are seamless. The veins are tight and are tiny. Cap's nice and deep. I'm digging it. So to Matt Booth and Room 101, happy anniversary, and may you have many, many more. And everyone you celebrate, I hope you celebrate with something as great as this 15 year, because this thing is banging. At least that's what I think. If you have one, you try one, you leave me a comment and tell me what you think, because I'd love to know. I really would. Bob Cigar Guy saying, see you later. I love you. I really do. Later, Tater.